Good day, I'm Annika Pergament. The House committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol concluded its fifth hearing today. The focus was on what the panel says was a clear effort by then-President Trump and his allies to improperly use the Justice Department to overturn his election loss. Here's what Richard Donahue, who was acting Deputy Attorney General in the Trump administration, said that the president had told him.
He responded very quickly and said, essentially, that's not what I'm asking you to do. What I'm just asking you to do is just say it was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman.
Taylor Popolars was in the room during the hearing and joins me now. And Taylor, a lot of the evidence today really pointing how Trump was using his Justice Department to try to hold on to power.
Yeah, Annika, the committee wanted to bring in these three former Justice Department officials because they were at the top of this agency and were directly communicating with Donald Trump and his closest aides at the White House, and were being pressured consistently to overturn the results of the election or to move out of the way and let others come in to do it. I want to put up on screen the 4 points that the committee wanted to outline throughout this hearing that they say these officials have shown them in video depositions. That the former president wanted the Department of Justice to call the election corrupt, that he wanted the department to name a special counsel to investigate allegations of fraud, that he wanted the agency to send letters to 6 state legislatures basically asking them to convene special sessions, and that he wanted the attorney general, the top person, the acting person after Bill Barr resigned a few weeks prior, to be replaced. And so what these 3 officials testified throughout this hearing is that the president basically said to them out front that that's what he wanted, or that his aides were communicating that to them directly, and they fought back on it.
They essentially, as you said, fought back on it. They would not agree to pursue the fraud assertions because there was no factual basis for them. But Taylor, we did hear a lot from Jeffrey Clark today. He was in charge of the environmental division at the DOJ. He was the only senior official supporting Trump's efforts. Talk a little bit about the testimony from then acting Attorney General Jeff Rosen about how Trump actually considered putting Clark in his place and becoming the acting Attorney General.
Yeah, it was pretty stunning to hear that Rosen, who again was the head of the Justice Department in the late of December 2020 and into January 2021, and was summoned into the Oval Office by President Trump repeatedly, and Trump basically saying to his face, if you're not going to do what I want, I may replace you, with this environmental lawyer, Jeffrey Clark, who Rosen and others testified today had no experience or ability to run the Justice Department. Here's some of what Rosen had to say just about why he was trying to protect the institution.
But I did not want for the Department of Justice to be put in a posture where it would be doing things that were not consistent with the truth, were not consistent with its own appropriate role, or were not consistent with the Constitution.
And Annika, basically what Rosen and others were telling the president and his top aides was that if Jeffrey Clark came in, bad things would happen, and they would not feel comfortable with it, and that they were concerned that it would basically lead to a chilling effect for the entire agency.
And Taylor, Jeffrey Clark did not come in, but he almost did, so much so that, in fact, the White House referred to him as the acting Attorney General in one point. And there was evidence to back this up. There was the White House call log from January 3rd. The idea, Taylor, that he would have taken over, as you said, he was widely considered unqualified. And then we heard that this would have led to potentially mass resignations among as U.S. attorneys across the country.
Yeah, Stephen Engel, the third person testifying today, another high-ranking Justice Department official, testified that Jeffrey Clark, as he was gaining influence within Trump's orbit, he was even considering sending a letter to the state of Georgia calling on the legislature to convene a special session because, in his opinion, the Justice Department had identified widespread fraud. But the rest of these officials knew that that was not true. And here's what Engel said just about the conversation that was kind of taking place around the idea of Clark trying to put forward letters like this.
And so the story is not going to be that the Department of Justice has found massive corruption that would have changed the result of the election. It's going to be the disaster of Jeff Clark. And I think at that point, Pat Cipollone said, yeah, this is a murder-suicide pact, this letter.
And Annika, Pat Cipollone was another White House chief counsel who apparently was very frustrated throughout these couple of months between the election and January 6th, was threatening to resign at various points. But it just goes to show that Donald Trump was occupying within this small orbit of people who were fueling these false claims about the election and basically trying to pressure or push out these other officials who were not in line with him. We also heard at the end of this hearing just stunning news that at least 6 members of Congress, according to former Trump White House officials, had brought up to the White House that they were interested in presidential pardons for their role leading up to or after January 6th. Just a stunning revelation that was documented either in email or in video deposition played today. Annika?
Yeah, that was ending on a real stunner. You're absolutely right. Taylor Poplar's in D.C. Thank you so much for that. And that wraps up our special coverage of the 5th hearing of the January 6th committee. The panel is expected to pick things up again next month, and we will cover that live for you then.